And welcome into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We're all on location. We're all everywhere. But you know what? We're ready to rock. It's Wednesday. We got our guy, Mr. Ben Scott Stevens, coming in here. We're going to get you ready for the entire week of college football action. It is a big slate. We got Thanksgiving on Thursday, so we bumped everything back a little bit. And thankfully, Ben was kind enough to join us once again as we head into rivalry week. Ben, what is the game? First of all, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Also with that, is there a game that you're looking at over the next 3 days that you absolutely love the most to make us some cash for Christmas?
I mean, I love every game that we have this upcoming weekend. It is rivalry week. It is hate week. It is probably a week where things will be planted in midfield logos and we will see some scuffles and kerfuffles and all of that good stuff that rings in the holidays. There is a game I am very excited by outside of the game between Michigan and Ohio State. It's one of the great rivalries within the Big Ten Conference. In fact, it is the most played FBS series in the history of this sport for the 135th time on Saturday afternoon in the Twin Cities. It's Minnesota. It's Wisconsin for Paul Bunyan's Axe in a game for the Badgers that now all of a sudden looks a lot more interesting to end out year number 3 under Luke Fickell with some optimism already. Small bits of that hope into 2026 in year number 4. Gents, it is as of right now supposed to be around 28 degrees at kick in Minneapolis with about an 80% chance of snow. The over-under stands at 37, which if it stays right there would match the lowest total we have seen during the 2025 college football regular season. So for all of those reasons, it is one of the games I am most excited for. It is the epitome of rivalry week within the Big Ten.
Well, let's stay in the Big Ten because this one really matters. And we saw Washington get off to a hot start. Then they had Ohio State at home, lost that one.
Yep.
You got Oregon coming off a big win against USC. They need this. What do you got on this game? I think the line's somewhere around 6.5 right now, Ben.
Yeah, that's where it really kind of starts for me. The 6.5-point spread only in favor of Oregon. You guys know I was very high on the Ducks handling business, winning decisively at home in Autzen last week against Washington. Well, the friendly confines of being there on the lakes in Seattle for the Huskies, or against USC, I should say, for the Huskies in being in that familiar setting in Seattle has been all the difference. The only loss in the 2 years now under Jed Fish for Washington at home was against Ohio State. And that line was at double digits entering the matchup between the Buckeyes and the Huskies. Schlegs, for me, it's a really interesting number. Some early public betting handle on Washington to keep this game close. Sharp money is basically 50-50. We have seen the line get to a full touchdown in many spots in favor of Oregon. The key for the Ducks, because Jaden Mayava last week threw for more than 300 yards, is going to be containing Damon Williams Jr., who has multiple games this year with 4 total touchdowns, including last week on the road for the first time against UCLA. I do think this game actually probably ends up being closer than the game between the Trojans and the Ducks. I do think it is one possession. Ultimately, I lean Oregon getting the job done. But Dan Lanning, just 1-3 against the Huskies during his tenure there in Eugene. Oregon wins. I would not be surprised even if an Oregon win is coming in Seattle if Washington does cover. But I do not think the Ducks will suffer that blemish that would knock them out potentially of college football playoff consideration.
All right, one of the teams that looked really good last week after just getting mollywopped the week prior, Pittsburgh gets a big win against the Ramblin' Wreck down in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Now, Miami had to go to Virginia Tech. Wasn't the roughest weather last week. This week in the Midwest, you're going to be glad, Ben, that you are down in sunny Southern California. It is supposed to be a balmy mid-20s with some snow coming through. I don't know how much the Hurricanes are going to be enjoying that in the Steel City. They're laying almost 7. I'm seeing it at 6.5. Can Pittsburgh pull the upset?
No, I do not believe that Pitt can pull the upset despite the weather the Canes are going to be dealing with. Meanwhile, here in sunny Southern California, it's 72 degrees today, might be north of 70 on Thanksgiving Thursday. Not to rub that in anybody's face by any means. I love football weather, and when it's significant games at the end of November, this is what you want. Bobby, one of the reasons I do not believe that the Hurricanes will be on upset alert, despite last week allowing a ton of yardage on the ground to Virginia Tech, Miami has consistently, over the last 2 years, been a top 10, top 15 rushing defense in this sport. And what Cordy Heatherman has done this year in South Florida for Miami, I think translates in this spot to confuse things for Mason Heinchel, the true freshman quarterback for Pittsburgh, and on the ground for the Panthers, where they have not been nearly as elite as you might expect for a Pat Narduzzi team in years past. I think Miami actually wins the physicality battle. And I think Miami, built with their own backfield led by Mark Fletcher Jr., is ready to go in this type of football game, at least on paper. We will see their mettle in terms of doing so. As we have shared, Carson Beck, in the losses this year that Miami has suffered, 6 of his 9 interceptions in those 2 games, including the critical 4 in the stunning loss against Louisville. If he plays clean football in the conditions, they trust Mark Fletcher on the ground. I think Miami's defense is the best unit potentially of the 4 in this matchup. I think the Hurricanes win, and I would not be surprised as Miami is continuing to attempt to make statements to impress the committee to get closer and closer to Notre Dame, so that head-to-head victory does in fact matter, as I believe it will. I think Miami wins, and I do even believe Miami covers this number.
No, it's big time. I mean, and with all the comparisons, head-to-head, Notre Dame, like they have to have this one.
Yeah.
Especially if they're not able to go to their conference championship game. One thing that's been on my mind, you have Ole Miss going to Mississippi State. And we just had Morris, which is another game that's very intriguing in the North Texas game. But Morris goes to Oklahoma State. I absolutely hate that a coach can leave when a team's making a push. They're 10-1. And he's going to Oklahoma State now. But all the stuff surrounding Lane Kiffin going down to Stark Vegas. They got, I think it's like 7.5 points in this game. Like, you got to win. What do you feel about this game?
It's interesting, Schlegs, because a lot of times there is the handicapping market that dictates the number, right? And the movement that we see based on the initial line that opens and where it ends up by the time we get to kick in the Egg Bowl. The fact this game is not tomorrow on Turkey Day is sad as it is, but the fact that we still have it, of course, is important. Under Jeff Levy, Mississippi State has been unreal as an underdog. A few times this year, that number has been just a few points within a single score, which is where the Bulldogs have struggled. But as a double-digit dog or north of a possession, they keep these games close. That's what the market is telling us right now. 8.5-point spread at its open in favor of Ole Miss on the road in Starkville. That number now a flat 7. A lot of public money still on Ole Miss, believing they might play one last time for the skipper in Lane Kiffin. A lot of the sharp money, nearly 94% of the handle on Mississippi State, and that idea that Jeff Levy and the Bulldogs can keep this game close. Now, I'm not entirely sure what Mississippi State is doing at the quarterback position or some of the offense that you would expect to be fluid under Jeff Levy. I think this game is around that 7. I do think Ole Miss wins. I do not think there will be a blunder that knocks them out of CFP consideration for a second consecutive year, despite the narrative around Lane Kiffin. But it is interesting to see the actual betting market, not necessarily the public narrative around is Lane Kiffin about to be in Baton Rouge come Monday, dictating this number. It is the sharp money that is not influenced by narratives or storylines that has made this game a little bit shorter in terms of how we expect it to look competitive-wise.
You know, if there's a game that you like that's out there, like let's say Oklahoma LSU, Oklahoma's laying 10.5. You're probably not getting very good value on the money line for that, for Oklahoma to win. Is it a better bet for you just to bet Oklahoma to making the playoff? And you know what? We're long for a break here, Pat. We're long for a break here, Ben. Pat's just alerting me of that. So we're going to take a quick break. We've got a message from FanDuel. I want Ben to marinate on this about what was better to bet. Maybe the future of getting into the playoff versus a money line for the win this weekend. We will talk about all of that after this message from our friends at FanDuel. The NBA tip-off week, it's here. FanDuel, it's your home for live betting. So even if you missed the start of the game, you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has the live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can combine bets into an SGP. That's right, a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel, they're giving new customers $300 in bonus bets. Your first $5 bet wins. Visit FanDuel.com/bigplay to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and older and present in select states for Kansas and affiliation with the Kansas Star Casino, or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issue is non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York. And more from Bobby Carpenter's show coming up next.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, back to the Bobby Carpenter show. We got our guy Ben Scott Stevens on, who's still bringing you the biggest stuff, the best bets from all around the weekend. And the big question is like LSU and Oklahoma. Oklahoma, you're not getting any value on the money line. And you're looking at this, Ben. So is there better value to just betting them to make the playoffs, which is probably a lock? Not certain, but probably should they win this game?
Should they win this game, Bobby, I do believe they will be in the college football playoff. They are squarely in an at-large position right now where they would even be hosting a college football playoff game. Now, in terms of the value of where you can find it on OU, a 10.5-point home favorite this week against LSU, total 36.5. I would rely on the under. We haven't seen a lot out of the Sooners in terms of that offense, but maybe this is the week that it sparks with that total being as low as it is. We talked about Wisconsin and Minnesota, the over-under 37.
Ooh.
This would be the lowest that we would have all year between the Sooners and the Bayou Bengals. But the price on the money line with Oklahoma, a double-digit favorite, just to beat LSU outright, is minus 420. The price for Oklahoma to reach, minus 400. The price for the Sooners to reach the college football playoff right now on FanDuel is minus 420. I'm not sure there's a really great value perspective in terms of just win this game and you are in. I wouldn't mind laying 10.5 points because I don't really think LSU, despite picking up a few wins, has all that much buy-in left. Like we have seen for other teams that have dismissed their head coach, a la a Penn State, that is still playing with that supreme talent and playing for a lot. So, Bobby, if you were going to look at Oklahoma, who right now, with a victory, depending on what happens the remainder of this finale weekend and conference championship weekend, and you wanted Oklahoma, who you believe in, to make some noise in the CFP to reach the quarterfinal round, if they were going to be hosting a game in Norman, more than likely a slight home favorite, depending on who that opponent might be, it's a plus 115 price on the Sooners to reach the second round of the college football playoff. Now, that being said, based on our fourth set of rankings from the committee yesterday, the projected matchup in Norman is Oklahoma and Notre Dame, and it would be around a pick 'em. I would take Notre Dame to win that football game outright. But if you are looking for some value right here, right now, Sooners maybe plus 115 to reach the CFP quarters could be the way of dissecting it all.
I got one for you. So we got Vandy going down to Tennessee, actually going up. And you got Pavia, right? You got Heisman Trophy, stuff on the line. Tennessee hasn't really beat anybody, but at home they played Georgia really tough earlier in the season. They had the loss to Oklahoma at home. That was a big time one. What is the king ding-a-ling in the state of Tennessee? How does this play out with Vandy coming in Who do you got?
65.5 Schlegs is the total. It is an epitome of both of these defenses that have not been great. At times, Vandy has allowed the football to move, but stood tall when it matters in the red area, keeping teams out of their end zone, having to settle for field goals. Clark Lee has been very adamant that at times we understand we are not going to be a stifling scoring defense, but we can bend and do not break. They will have to do that in this spot as they head to Rocky Top. The Vols have been atrocious on the defensive side of the football this year, both through the air defending it and on the ground. It is where Diego Pavia can make his hay against Tennessee. I have been very skeptical of this Tennessee team. A victory over Vanderbilt would be the first for Tennessee against a bowl-eligible FBS program in 2025. Market is buying back in just a little bit to the Volunteers early, but the number is still now at a flat 3. I think Vanderbilt wins this game outright because I can trust more in Vandy than I can for Tennessee. But the Doors are going to need to be as good defensively as we have seen them at any point this year, perhaps a la the Missouri game when they contained Ahmad Hardy. And I know Bo Prabula left that game early, but that's the kind of defensive effort the Doors are going to need to put forth against the Tennessee offense and a Joey Aguilar who can throw the rock as good as anybody in the country. So if Vanderbilt is going to win outright, this game needs to stay under 65.5. If it approaches that level, it means Tennessee is controlling the flow. Their offense is firing on all cylinders, and it's going to be difficult for Vandy to keep up in that perspective. I think Vanderbilt wins outright, but I think if Vandy does, the total of 65.5, a very large number, stays toward the under.
Can you explain to me how Arkansas is only a 2.5-point dog to Missouri?
Yes, because Arkansas continues to put up incredible numbers and has a positive point differential despite being a 2-win football team. They might be the best 2-win football team that we have seen in a very long time. It's kind of like Nebraska a few years ago, Bobby, the best 4-win football team that anybody had ever known because they just kept losing one-score games. That is what Arkansas has done. Defense is awful. Taylon Green is incredible, their quarterback. So I still think they expect against the Missouri team that, oh, by the way, does not have a win against an FBS Bowl-eligible team this year, keeps the game close.
Very, very interesting stuff. Some great stuff there. All right, we're going to keep it for one more segment, Ben. We've got a couple of big games, the Iron Bowl, the game, and then maybe a little Heisman talk, too, heading into this final regular season week of the college football season. That's going to be big time. But first, we got a message from our friends at Export. Parents, athletes, protect what matters most with Export mouthguards trusted by professional athletes and designed by NHL team dentists. Export mouthguards are scientifically tested to help absorb those high-impact hits, protecting both your teeth and your brain. Export mouthguards feature 3 layers of advanced protection, including a patented use of carbon fiber. They 3D print that bad boy right to your grill for more protection, better performance, max comfort, and clear communication. That way you focus on your game, not your gear. Don't take chances with your safety. Visit exportguards.com/Bobby today and save 15% on your order. Export, protect what matters most. We got more of the Bobby Carpenter Show and Ben Scott Stevens to discuss the game taking place in Ann Arbor coming up next. I'm Garage Beer, and this is Bobby Carpenter.
Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer.
Beef with an F? Okay, my bad. It's crisp and cool, and it doesn't taste like I'm Bobby Carpenter. I drink in garages because my wife says I don't belong inside. If you like a cold breeze on your bag, drink Garage Beer. It's American, and so can you. Garage Beer. Beer-flavored beer. Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We got our guy, Ben Scott Stevens, as we always do late in the week, joining us on this Wednesday here, staying for 3 segments. We love and appreciate him for that. Ben, in my oversight, I forgot about the Texas A&M game that is going to be taking place, a game that could have some SEC championship ramifications. I don't know that Texas can get into the CFP with 3 losses, but you'll never know until you force the committee to make a decision.
Yep.
And Texas forced that decision from the committee in Austin.
No, I do not believe they can, Bobby. It's only a 2.5-point spread in favor of the Aggies. And I do think that's the right side. I know Texas A&M struggled against South Carolina at home in College Station, but I do just believe that A&M is a better football team than what we have seen out of Texas this year. The Longhorns at their best beat Oklahoma in a one-thumb John Mateer. That's really where I look at where the Longhorns have been, and a victory at home against Vanderbilt in their first home game since September. All of that stuff is fine. Texas A&M is the better football team. You are basically getting Texas A&M around a pick-em price. A lot of the sharp handle is on Marcel Reed and the Aggies. What Texas has done this year is struggle incredibly to run the football. Trey Wisner has not been the guy. C.J. Baxter, despite the returning talent, has not been the guy. And Arch Manning, of course, is athletic and utilizes his legs, but it has not been a good Texas rush offense, bottom 5 in the SEC all year long. That is the area that A&M has struggled more than most in terms of if there has been an issue for Mike Elko along that defensive front. I think Texas A&M wins this football game. You're basically only laying 2.5 with the Aggies to get the job done in Austin. I do think Texas A&M takes care of business, remains undefeated, and gets to the SEC championship game in Atlanta.
Schleggs is muted. He's not paying attention.
Schleggs.
Oh, I know. Hey, listen, because I was getting juicy right over here at the farm. Hey, you got Roll Tide heading down to War Eagle, Iron Bowl. You have Alabama, some questions. Ty Simpson playing well, can't really necessarily run the football. Auburn's defense, really good. How are you looking at this game?
I would never bet the Iron Bowl, Schleggs. It's just too weird, and weird things happen. If I was going to bet it, just looking at where things stand right now, I would lay the 6 with Alabama. Auburn's defense has been really good. Auburn has been great in terms of the metrics each of the past 2 years, but the metric that matters most in sports, and especially in college football, is wins, and that's where Auburn has been a little bit lagging. Yes, Deuce Knight was incredible last week, more than 400 total yards, 6 total tuds against Mercer, and it's probably going to put a scare in the Crimson Tide and those Bama backers entering the Iron Bowl. I'm not necessarily buying it. Alabama has struggled at times against mobile quarterbacks. Deuce Knight in his first career start against an FBS foe being in the Iron Bowl and against Alabama, I don't love it. I do think this game is probably close. I do think it's probably weird. Again, I would not bet it, but if I had to bet it, I would lay 6 with Alabama.
All right, and then the game taking place at noon in Ann Arbor. Ohio State traveling to Michigan. It started out at 10.5. It's ticked down inside of 10. I don't know how you should feel about that if you're a Buckeye fan. Point total, mid-40s.
Yeah.
What do we like here?
You know, Bobby, for the last 4 years, of course, in this dreadful losing skid for those in Columbus, I've expected Ohio State to win every game. Maybe 2023 was the time I thought the Buckeyes would come up short. But basically every other time I've expected Ohio State to show its might, to look like the better team all year long, and to win this football game. For some reason, they haven't. Again, much like the Iron Bowl, I would say that Ohio State should win this football game. But weird things have happened in the last half decade in the game between these two bitter foes. Of course, the key is going to be, as you guys well know, running the damn ball. It is one of the best rivalries in this sport. It is one of the best rivalries in the Big Ten, if not the best. And running the damn ball has been the difference. Michigan has outgained Ohio State on the ground in these last 4 years by 121.5 yards per game. And of course, that was a drastically different look in 2021 and 2022. But even in the last 2 years, a 72 yard per game difference in favor of the maize and blue on the ground. Ohio State now is performing as well in terms of its ground game this season as we have seen at any time. The only time they have averaged more than 5 yards per carry has been the last 2 weeks against UCLA and Rutgers. Those rushing defenses not nearly as stout as Michigan's, one of the 12 teams in the country allowing fewer than 100 yards per game to their opponents in terms of running the football. That is going to be the key. I trust in that being the key for Ohio State. And I will say this, Julian Sayin in this spot with Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate both being back. Michigan has struggled against the best quarterbacks this year. If Julian Sayin is going to win the Heisman Trophy and threaten Fernando Mendoza, where the odds have it now, Mendoza a minus money favorite at minus 125, Sayin puts on a performance for the ages in the Big House. That would be one of the ways that I approach this game. Ground game critical, but Julian Sayin opening it up and throwing for 250 plus would not surprise me in the slightest.
You mentioned the Heisman odds there. We got about 30 seconds. With Sayin now kind of sliding back, is it maybe some good value on him if you think he's going to have a big game?
I do think there is a chance, Bobby, because Heisman moments are going to happen, and the Heisman votes are not happening in large until the Monday following conference championship weekend. If Julian Sayin can snap the 4-game skid for the Buckeyes against the Wolverines with a performance on the road in Ann Arbor where he throws for 250 and maybe 3 touchdowns, as we have seen him often do, fewer than 185 the last 2 weeks, 300 plus in 4 of the 5 previous. You have that moment in the game against the top 15 Michigan, and then you're going to play Indiana more than likely in the Big Ten championship game in that direct head-to-head comparison as well. If Ohio State were to win that behind an offensive effort from Julian Sayin, that plus 400 number is going to be a lot closer to even money by the time conference championship weekend comes to a close. So yes, I do believe there is value on the 4-1 price on Ohio State's Julian Sayin to win the Heisman Trophy.
Thank you so much, Ben. You were terrific as always, a gentleman and a scholar. Happy Thanksgiving weekend. Enjoy all the football and consume some turkey.
Happy Thanksgiving to you both. Enjoy the time. Football, family, it's all beautiful stuff. I'll talk to you guys soon.
There he is, Ben Scott Stevens, one of the best. All right, now what else is the best? Backer, bckr.com, some of the best fan gear you're going to find. They keep adding teams. They keep adding products. It has the features, the functionality. It looks good. It feels great. The high-end outdoor stuff that you're looking for. They've got all the stuff from wind to rain to cold gear. It is looking good. They keep adding colors, like I said. Plus, right now, free shipping. If you use promo code all caps BOBBY, you get 10% off at checkout. BCKR, Backer Gear. Go check it out. It's the stuff you need to support your squad. We're going to wrap it up here. We've got some Lift It or Leave It coming up next.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
Hey, welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. We've got a tremendous slate of games that we talked about here with our guy, Ben Scott Stevens, that joins us every single week to do a terrific job. We've got a couple Lift It or Leave It. So what's amazing, Schlegs, is these have gotten lighter and lighter every single week. And when I say lighter and lighter, just less and less information and less questions. So, I go in here, I take a peek, and it's like, hey, ask for 5 to 6 to get thrown in there. Why not just 2 this week? I guess it. So I'll have to create some and do it myself on the fly. Not even a heads up that there wasn't even any more. But
that's okay. It doesn't even matter, Bob. We got this, man. This is what we do.
I mean, listen, I was talking with your daughter on the flight as we were coming back, and she goes, I hate team sports because I hate relying on other people to do their job. And I was like, well, I mean, that's kind of the beauty of it. You work together, you win as a team, you lose as a team, you get to celebrate. It doubles the pleasure and halves the pain. But in this case, I kind of agree with Faith right now. Like, she's a lot more like me than I really thought, but I appreciate her drinking a lot of the haterade and just kind of pouring it out there. So we've got our headlines, our first Lift It or Leave It in here, Schlegs. The top 7 teams in the CFP rankings this week are safe regardless of what happens. Just for a heads up, you have 11-0 Ohio State, 11-0 Indiana, 11-0 A&M, a 10-1 Georgia, a 10-1 Texas Tech, a 10-1 Oregon, and a 10-1 Ole Miss. All are slated to get in regardless of what happens. Lift it or leave it.
Ooh, Bob. Slated to get in, but there's more work to be done. Texas Tech happens to lose a game. They're still going to the conference championship game. You win that one, you're in. So there's still things that are uncertain. Ole Miss being 10-1, I don't see, a 10-2 Ole Miss not getting in. This goes back to like where do you fall within where Notre Dame is? This goes back to the situation of Miami and what they do this week. Like I'm going to say this: just if one of those teams loses, I'm going to leave it that one of them could potentially Ohio State, Indiana, Texas A&M. I would say Georgia are the ones, but then it's like, where does Oregon could? I would think that they would be able to get in, but do they? Being 10-2, where does that fit? I don't know. I don't know what they're looking at sometimes on here, and the fact that you have automatic bids, aka a Notre Dame being able to get in, and having somebody on the outskirts of Miami who can't get in their conference championship game, who has 2 losses, that's difficult. So I'm just going to leave it because I don't know what they're necessarily subjectively looking at, Bob.
Yeah, I'm going to leave this too because I'm with you. I think Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia, Texas Tech are all safe. And even if Texas Tech lost, I think they'd be okay. The thing is, if Oregon loses, like the committee had like left them back for a while. Now they do have the big win against USC. If they lost to Washington, how far back would they slide? Because the reality is you can't drop past 10 because you're going to have to put an ACC champion at 11 and a group of 5 champion at 12. You start looking around like what else could happen. You know, Vanderbilt beats Tennessee. Would that be enough to bump them up above you with everything going on? You know, if Ole Miss loses the Egg Bowl, like how far down could they potentially drop? If Texas somehow beats A&M, and let's say they beat them by 14 points, unlikely but possible, could they jump up to 10? So the thing is, I think you could potentially get, if here's another thing. I know we don't want to say this. If Michigan beat Ohio State, Schlegs, they're going to get in. And so they would do this. So I think you would have this double helix of maybe Oregon or Ole Miss falling. And while like Oregon has USC as a big victory, like Ole Miss, their schedule has been fairly soft this year in the SEC. Some of the teams that they thought they were going to be good haven't been great. Their best win is Oklahoma, which is good, but they're taking into account Mateer's thumb was still jacked up. LSU's falling apart. They had a close loss to Georgia, but I mean, outside of that, they haven't played any ranked teams, and they're 1-1 against them. And the one quarterback, Mateer's still coming off of some stuff. So I don't know if they have the strongest schedule, whether 10-2, and there's probably some other 10-2 teams that might be sliding potentially ahead of them, and that's where that Texas conversation comes up. With A&M as a 3-loss Texas team with a huge win over A&M, also a victory over Oklahoma. Would that be enough to put them up there? So I'm going to leave that. I don't think it's likely. I think the top 7 teams are safe. I could see a world where either Ole Miss or Oregon with losses this week could slide out. I don't think that anyone else is going to be doing that, but I do think that is a possibility. So I am going to leave that this weekend.
Yeah, I agree.
Number 2, Schlegs.
Yeah.
Miami is the best team in the ACC. Lift it or leave it.
Well, what you saw from Georgia Tech when they went up and played Pitt, that was quite bumpy. And then now you have Georgia Tech's playing Georgia this week, like a rivalry game. They've already they're fine.
Georgia Tech?
They're out of it. But what I'm saying is, like, you got SMU playing their way in. You got Virginia. Like, that's what's crazy. Like, you have a path for Pitt. Virginia is there, and Miami can't. Is that right, Bob? Like, they can't.
No, there is a path. There is a
pathway, a backdoor bandit pathway.
Yeah, long is the path and narrow is the gate. I mean, that's what they're dealing with here. They need to win, have a lot of the other teams around them lose, and then also have some teams that aren't even in contention win for like strength of record and strength of schedule and stuff like that across it. So, but I'm not even asking that. We'll get to are they the best? Are they the best team in the ACC in your opinion?
They're the most talented team. The hardest thing is when you lose to a Louisville by 3 and you lose to an SMU at SMU by 6. They've looked better. They beat Syracuse, NC State, and Va Tech. Now they got Pitt. Like, this is the game for them to be able to do it. So the hardest thing is what Miami team are you getting? Are you getting the Miami team that physically, played Notre Dame at home to start the season? Or are you the one that goes on the road to SMU and loses, right? Or to Louisville? Like, which team of Miami is showing up? That's the consistency. I mean, they smoked a USF team earlier in the season. And that's the thing with the CFP right now. It's just, where are they trending? And Notre Dame just looks like a physically better team than Miami. I think they are the best team in the ACC. Virginia has something to say about that because they only have one loss in it. So that's where you go, right? It's where are you in your conference, and you lose to two teams that you should have beaten in conference, especially one of those being at home and losing to Louisville.
All right, Schleggs. I think Miami, I'm with you. I think they are the most talented. I think they are the best. They've been wildly inconsistent. At their peak, I think clearly they are the best team. The question is, like, how often are you getting to your peak and what is your floor? And you mentioned this. Even in some of their wins, they've had clunky wins, and they've thrown on some points late, and they haven't really looked like they've been in full control of the game. So there's been some issues ultimately with that. I could see a world. I mean, Pitt has a way to get in. They've got to obviously beat Miami this week. SMU, I think the two win you're in scenarios are SMU and Virginia. Both of them win, they get in. So Pitt needs some help. I mean, SMU has been hanging around. They're playing better now than they were before. I think Georgia Tech is probably the most consistent, but I think Miami is the only team that if you get into the CFP can ultimately win a game.
Yeah, you think they have a chance to go beat somebody because of the talent that they have on their roster. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, yeah. Like at their apex, like when we start talking about it, their apex is better than everybody else's. But I would always tell people when you start talking about teams and how, quote, good they are, the question then becomes, how often do you get to your best? And then what is your floor? And Miami hasn't been getting to their best very often. And honestly, I put that on Mario Cristobal as a function of coaching. That's the one thing that you can say with Ryan Day this year at Ohio State. More than anything else, they have played to a high standard and a high level every week. They've covered the number 10 out of 11 times. The one was a backdoor cover, I believe, by Purdue. And like, why does that matter? Well, if people expect you to win by that much and you always win by that much, and it's not like you're dumping on garbage points late, like you've had great game control. Your teams are always showing up ready to play and doing so in a big way. All right, we got your questions coming up next in Tailgate Talk. We've got a couple good ones, some bangers in there. We answer your questions about Ohio State, the game, college football, and maybe just even Thanksgiving in general. Fire those away here coming up next on the Bobby Carpenter Show.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
All right, Schleggs. I want to give some love to the NBA was better in the 90s. They hit us with some cash here. Sweet redemption in Ann Arbor. Buckeyes 38 scum. 12. Happy Thanksgiving, fellas. God bless. Has really built something great here. OHIO. Thank you so much for the kind words and for the support ultimately as well. Here's one, Schleggs, coming from Terry. Pretty good. If we can beat the team up north without JJ and Tate, wouldn't it be wise to rest them one more week for a bigger threat against Indiana? I mean, talk about counting your chickens, Schleggs. Let's just put that. They're putting the game in the bank already.
I like that. So here's my thing, guys. Actually, Joe Burrow, not with the S that I like to make the plural, came out and it's like, hey, listen, man, like if I'm ready to go, I'm going to play. This is Joe Burrow, quarterback, right? Makes lots of money for the Bengals. if he's ready to go, if he is physically capable to play, you're going to play him. And that's the thing. Are they 100%? Are they ready to play? And even in this game, guys, like, you're never at the end of this season, at the end of a season, going to always be 100%. I will tell you something that is 100% in the game of football is that you will be hurt. We know that, Bob. It's a collision sport. You're going to have to play with dings. It's different contusions. Back, broke 3 processors, played, right? Had turf toe, got shot up, played. I'm also not a Ferrari.
So tough.
I'm not a Ferrari here, right? Soft tissue stuff but if you're 100% and you can go, they're going to go. And that's why you leave it up to the, Stu and the medical staff and the coaches. They always have a plan. And then you just go out there, and if they're available, we ride with the plan. If they're not, we've adjusted with poise because we've already been planning if they weren't. That's how you roll with it. Because every one of these matters, because even in the Big Ten championship game, it does matter because what does it do? You win that game, you get an extra week. Like, that's the point of the championship game. You win those, then you're in, boom, the 4 byes, which gets you a little bit more rest.
All right, Shugs, I've got 2 that are kind of in tandem here. Chaos Junkie, you guys ready for fans to crash out if OSU loses? Because I'm ready to crash out, then ready to take it all back if we win the championship. And then B Dunks threw in there, Chaos, I would trade the Michigan game for a natty every year, especially because some years we would probably end up seeing them in the playoffs. I mean, there's a lot going back and forth with this. This year it feels a little different. I mean, maybe you just want it. Which would you rather have, Schlegs?
I told the guys there's not a would you rather here. First off, I don't live in hyperboles. Okay? I don't live in that world. And I think that Ryan Day and the guys have this, and we saw some things.
You mean hypotheticals? I think hypotheticals is the word you're
I like hyperboles. Why can't I make that up?
That's
Why can't
exaggerations.
I just say? I know. I don't live in
live in
exaggerations or hypotheticals. Both of them I don't live in. All right. So that being said, here's the thing. You got to keep the main thing. And so many times in life, everybody takes that focus off of that. And the main thing is this week. And that's it. When you say, I'm going to go, I would rather go get this than that, you've missed the step to get to that. So live where your feet are. This is the most important game. It is the game. It is humbling to play in this game. This game is the culmination of the entire season and going out there with a common mission with your brothers, people that you've done work with throughout your entire college career, those bonds, like you can't replicate that. That's why this game is so impactful. People forget in this rivalry, I think in the last 24 years, it's 16-7. They vacated 10. That's stupid. They should bring that one back. But I mean, 16-7, that's what it is. They got 4, but guess what? Go out there and accomplish the mission. And I think Ryan has learned through the process. This team is, I think, very, very focused. And the difference is to me in this game, it is the defense, guys. It is the defense. Now, I will say this. You saw a Michigan team have 5 turnovers versus Northwestern and still win that football game. They got resiliency too. They can do some things. But this defense versus a freshman quarterback, both starting again in the first time in the game, that's a thing in and of himself. But this defense, Ohio State Silver Bullets 2025, is the key. And then in this one, guys, it's like why you can't trade one for the other. We would have last year if you don't have a turnover that gets ran to the 2, if you don't miss 2 field goals. You win that football game. Not the way that you wanted to win it, but you win it nonetheless. And that's where the focus has to be on not a would you rather, but this is the mission, Bob.
Michael Wagner, Schlegs is a pickup truck, square body, old school, like from the 70s. I would agree with that. Definitely square body with a square jaw.
Or K10, 4x4.
Terry Slusher threw out there, will we play a 3 or a 4-3 most of the game? Meaning we're going to play 3 linebacker set. Michigan, they use a lot of 2 tight ends. They'll throw a fullback. They'll do some different stuff. They've run more zone read, obviously, with Underwood in the backfield. I could foresee this being a game where you see more 3 linebackers, 4 DBs, maybe even some 3-down stuff with 3 linebackers, just to be able to guys to get off the ball and can run. You can do so much with Arvell and with Sonny, and Peyton Pierce is really good at finding the football and, really a tackling machine when he's in there. So I could see some of that too, Schlegs.
Yeah. I think, Bob, some of the things that they've done, even with, so like you said, like the secret weapon of this game, there's 2 of them. If Peyton has a really good game stopping the run, right, which he does very, very well, and Caleb Downs and how they utilize Caleb. Caleb is that secret weapon because he is really, really good against the run and the run fits, but that allows you to be able to set the edge. Remember how, Bob, you've seen them where they've done like it's almost like a 3-3-5, Bob, but it's just different looking, right? They have like basically 2-3 techniques and K-Mac in the middle just gobbling up people. And they'll slide in Caden and KJ in those things. They'll bring another guy if they have to. They might put Curry on one side, Arvell on the other, and Sonny them. Like, they can just do a lot of different things. What you're going to see is they're going to give them a lot of different looks out of the same personnel, which Michigan, their weakness on offense is being able to throw the football. They are very much one-dimensional. So it's going to be like, can Bryce Underwood beat you throwing it? That's the question. And how do I affect that guy? How do I hit that guy? And we've seen in the past Ohio State's linebackers being able to run with any quarterback. So I feel that like that is the thing in this game. How do you stop their run? Not us. Ben said like we got to run the damn football and all that stuff. I think we've learned win the game. And that's what Ryan has preached all week. We're going to win it how we got to win it. But it starts with defense.
We had a vision in here, Schlegs, a prophetic vision from Terry.
Oh my
I see
gosh.
Max Clare in wheel routes to the RBs saying getting the ball out quick kind of game, which, I don't know. The thing is with this offensive line, they've been really good in pass protection this year. They've been good running the football. And so with that, they've put themselves in a good position. I don't know if they need to have to get the ball out super fast. I think they'll be able, to sit back in the pocket. Now, that doesn't mean that Ryan won't get the ball out quickly. I could see them even using a little bit of tempo in this game, maybe to change it up some as well. But what we saw with Max Clare, that was on film. That's out there. I think they will try to feature him. Before Michigan had started stealing all the plays and everything was going on a couple years back in 22, I believe, they had a screen that was set up to Garrett Stover.
Cade Stover.
Not Garrett, his cousin Cade, at tight end. And so they had some stuff in the bag. It wouldn't surprise me. Maybe they go back to some of those different things like they were running there. Now that Michigan won't know the plays coming, it might work a little bit better. All right, that is it for our tailgate talk. We're going to wrap it up with our parting thoughts and side nuggets from one Anthony Schlegel.
Customers bet $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. FanDuel, play your game.
Welcome back into the Bobby Carpenter Show. I want to give a shout out to our guy Olin Williams, who's in the chat again, Schlegs, from up in Canada. Our wonderful massage therapist was the best ever when we were here. Love him. Worked on all the guys. NBA was better in the 90s, Schlegs. Said, my beautiful wife walked away from Michigan this year because of the cheating. She now rocks an Ohio State sweatshirt. Can you give a shout out to Luis? So, Luis, you get a shout out. Thank you for joining the winning side there. And before we get to your parting thoughts, Schlegs, we had one more question that was fired away. Stephanie Schlegel is worried about Faith going to Florida and never coming back. True or false?
That was not in the chat. Thhat was not in the chat.
Throw the picture up. Throw it up, Pat. Throw the picture up. I mean, we had a great chat on the plane. Just great conversation with Faith. I was sitting there ready to go, and I hear, "Hey, Mr. Carpenter," and I was like, "Oh gosh, that's Faith, your what are you doing in Baltimore? I'm coming back from Jacksonville because her parents made her fly home for her birthday. So they could, her birthday present to them for her own birthday was getting to see them, even though she just wanted to stay with her friends.
Oh my
But,
gosh.
I mean, Schlegs, I think I told her, I go, you know what? You need to threaten your mom with that next time she tells you. Say, I'll go to Florida. You'll never see me again.
We asked her too. It's like, do you want us to go down there and like we'll just move back down? Like she's like, what? No, all these different things. Here, I'm gonna send another one into the group chat that you guys can post up there. But I will say this: kudos to one Bobby Carpenter. She had a blast talking to you the entire time, Bob. So I appreciate that. You guys talked about everything, and especially just so you guys know who Bobby really is. Like he's the guy. Like, hey, why are we getting on here so late? I will gladly carry every single one of these wheelchair people down there myself just so we can leave on time.
It wasn't the people down there. They didn't have enough chairs to get the people off the
know.
plane.
I'll carry. I know. I appreciate that. Like, hey, everybody has a role to play. Let's play our role. I'm going to help everybody get out of here on time. Use me as the wheelchair, right? Just hop on my back. When called upon, serve people. So I'm going to get to my side nugget, but I want you to throw that picture up, Pat, that I put in the group chat. And we lost a good one, Bob. You know him, Coach Bob Mansfield. And Coach Mansfield, he is one of Tress's guys. He was a class checker, the giver
I think you actually contributed to his death, Schlegs. The amount of stress that you put on him, of him having to go and then go talk to Tress about you. Our guy, Bob Mansfield, the little dude right there in the middle.
Right there, man.
With the hat on. One of Tress's best friends, and it's
and that's Tom Zach to the right. That's Tom Zach. That's Coach Peterson. And Bob, you and I and AJ have been up there doing some stuff. Ed Moransky, a Michigan guy, a man that I respect, that's up there in Youngstown. Like Coach Mansfield just had that way with people, man. He was just so good, and he and I had a lot of great conversations. Talked quite frequently. His wife, he has a saint of a wife in Linda who has been married to him. She's a principal up there in that area, loves kids. He made everybody around him better and just wanted to, to say we love him. And that's going on this next week. But it was a tough one because he meant so much to us while we were playing here, Bob. And even in the past, as we got older, 20 years removed from that Coach Mansfield.
Yeah, he was one of the best, and Tress lost obviously a good friend. And Schlegs, I've got a video we'll play on Friday's show before the games here. But Tress about what the Michigan game is and why it's important, his best memories. But it's just great stuff. I think we're probably a little long, Schlegs, to be able to play.
It's 54. I got it. This will be fine. 54. Play it, Pat. It'll be quick.
I think he just
here you go. Play it. Just say play. I'll tell you when to stop.
Working out with him in the offseason, he didn't really have it in him, I should say. But now he does. Coach Mick put me with him, so you know how to take care of him. But Matt says definitely taking that step on and off the field.
That's it. We're good. Cut it, Pat. And that's the point. I just want you guys to know.
Talking about Max Clare right there and training with JJ during the offseason.
And that's the emergence, right? Like that just didn't happen like, we're going to pair him with it in the season, right? Like Max came in. He had to earn it. And we see the talent. We see where it could be. Who are we going to pair him with? This alpha dog in Jeremiah Smith. And it was through competitive excellence, through the crucible of training there at Ohio State, that you were able to see these things. And in that room, in the blocking, and it's great because guess what? You need him. And he's showing up in a big way later on this season. And he's going to be a key feature going into the game, Bob.
It will be. And creating that toughness, Schlegs, you always say toughness isn't created in November. It's simply revealed. And the crucible that they were creating that there in this summer, and watching JJ go and Max. And believe me, Max is a great athlete. But you've just been trained at Purdue, where you just kind of trained to be average. And so coming to Ohio State has made him great, a great competitor, a tough guy, a hard guy. Folks, enjoy Thanksgiving, this Thanksgiving weekend. It's a lot of fun, a lot of football, a lot of family. Give thanks for the great country we have and all the football we get to watch. Catch up here again soon on the Bobby Carpenter Show.